All right, so let's go over some of the details with the install of the Z32 on the VB, Z32 brakes on the VB Subaru WRX. All right, so we'll just show you quickly by taking it off. It's all easy. The 4-pot stuff is easy, and many of you have done this, but it's just a couple of pins, and then the pads will be out. And of course, I don't have something handy for that. Let's see. Oh, you can do it with my hands. All right, then never mind. So that's that. This is the hardware that comes with the caliper. Just want to get a little pressure off the pads. So just push them back a little bit. Get some room in there. We're going to put some blue stuff on here, so these red stuff will be on the shelf for a minute. The red stuff pads comes with shims. They're loose, and that was kind of wonky to get the pin through there and all that. But anyway, make sure those come out. So there's the pads. I did pre-loosen the bracket bolts, so you didn't have to sit through that. Plus, I hit my arm. These are 19 millimeters, and you'll see all this in a sec. Here's the hardware for the caliper, flat washer, lock washer. Caliper's off. Be careful. So you can see the rotor is free. We're going to take that off. And kind of carefully hang this out of the way for a minute. There you go. So at this point, that's it. You can see how the bracket bolts on. The bolts go through the knuckle into the bracket. And with a flat washer, lock washer, we torque those at about, I want to say 100 foot-pounds. I'll try to get something in writing for that. Thank you, Matt from DBA, for a pair of brake rotors. We will wear them out as quickly as possible. If you have a lug nut, that's useful right now. But either way, as you install this, bracket's on now. Of course, then the rotor has to come next. Put a lug nut there. That'll keep that still while you're finishing your caliper install. Quick note about the brake line. This is an inverted flare inside there, so it's different than the banjo that comes in your car. When you get the lines installed, get this fitting pointing straight up before you tighten it. You'll leave some slack here and have it loose here. That way you can change the orientation of the line. It has a spine that's going to kind of go where it wants to, so you can rotate it as needed at the fitting end to get it to not hit the wheel barrel, which is roughly here, and have enough slack as it goes up and down. Anyway, slide the caliper over the rotor. Again, a lug nut makes that a little easier. We don't have one handy, so. And then now through the bracket into the caliper. And that's all she wrote. That's about all you need to know there. Just remember the hardware for the Nissan calipers, because of the wider disc, the pins are longer, and so you need to have the hardware that goes with the Nissan caliper. All right, I think that's really the only detail you need to know there. Again, I can put pads in there in 2 seconds, and I'll have that running shortly. You see the line pointing straight up, as I mentioned. There's not a lot else to it other than getting the wheels back on and taking a test drive. So let's go to the back and have a look at that real quick. There's a few details there as well. All right then, so let's talk about the rear stuff real quick. There's a couple other goofy things that I kind of uncovered late at night when I was doing this the first install. First thing is the brake pads. The rear pads have the squealer sensor. I'm not exactly sure how that gets down in the caliper when the rotor's there and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I can tell my pads are worn out. I don't need that. I just ripped that off of there. Second, these very high quality, trusted, tested, Nugian, remade brake calipers. Well, the calipers seem okay. I'm okay with what I've used these before in some other cars and in this, in fact. They give you supply hardware with the kit, and these aluminum rear calipers use what's called a guide plate at each end of the caliper. So, as you'll see, we have a dirty Subaru one from a whatever, last year's deal, whatever I did, who knows. And this is what came with the kit. Now, I went ahead and used the new hardware, but then I couldn't get the pads in. They're too tight. So I was like, man, that's not right. So I go into my bin and look, say, oh, look, not really something you can see on TV, YouTube, but the OEM sheet steel is whatever that is, 0.04 millimeters thick. And this aftermarket is, 0.6 millimeters thick. So you get about a 0.5 millimeter of guide plate in each end of the caliper. Guess what? The pads don't go in. Subaru hardware, expensive, but works. Aftermarket hardware, cheaper, however, it doesn't work. So the other difference in the aftermarket hardware is that the angle, the pad sits down in and goes against that little piece of spring end, but you'll see on the OEM one it's angled, which matches the side of the angle of the brake pad backing plate, and there they just put it at a 90. So I'm not sure why they didn't make these right. It's pretty easy to make them from the right thickness of material, but I think that's about it. We're going to get some good pads in this and do a little more testing and get signed up for another track day soon. Thank you.